All right, everybody, we are live. Hello and welcome. We have a special guest with us today. And I was playing one of my favorite songs. This is Cameron Graham. He's one of my favorite people. So there you go, right? It's a nice welcome. We've got a little Thunderclouds by Sia and Diplo, Labyrinth. I don't even know the other people, but we're both big fans of Sia. He was just showing me the final sequence of 6 Feet Under. And there's a Sia song on there. But anyway, there we go. We don't own the rights to the song, as Felicity always says. But so what do we have today? We've got a special guest, which we don't often do. So everybody tuning in is probably like, what the heck? Where's Felicity?
Who's this guy?
Yeah. I had Mike Brennan on a couple months ago.
Oh, great.
And Mike brought a blonde wig and was just sitting there with the blonde wig on when we went live.
Good.
But anyway, this is Cameron Graham. Hello, gents, says James McCarthy. Everybody listening on the podcast, we do record this and then put it up later. So everybody, thank you for listening on the podcast. Of course, my name's Max Tim. I'm with the ISA and the Story Farm. This is Cameron Graham. Cameron is one of our consultants through the Story Farm, but he does a whole bunch of other things. He's been in the industry a long time. We can kind of get into, who you are. But thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
This will be fun. We've got a pretty open-ended topic, and that's why we're going to do some trivia, Q&A as always. Everybody watching, you can ask questions at any time about anything. It doesn't have to be just about the I don't know why I'm pointing over here. Nobody sees what's on the outside of the camera. But Wine Wednesday special guest. What we got? Yeah, character, flaw, emotion, and of course some trivia and Q&A. But we can talk about anything tonight. So just to do some announcements first, Felicity is in... Oh, I wonder if we have a weird thing going. Hold on, sorry. Oh, sorry, my bad. I hit end video for what I've never done that before. See what happens? Like Felicity's gone and I just completely ruined the broadcast. If you can hear me and see us, let us know. Just give a thumbs up or something. If you can't hear us, of course, let us know. But Felicity is in London. Felicity, of course, is from London. And it is her birthday, I think, this coming week. I probably should know that. I should probably know when her birthday is. But she's in London for about a week and a half or so. So tonight, we got a special guest. Next week, I have another special guest. So you'll be seeing my face with someone new next week as well. But thank you, Robin, for the thumbs up, letting us know that you hear us.
Hello, Robin.
So, as we said before, you can ask questions anytime about anything. All right, so a couple announcements. I think they're pretty much the same announcements that we made last week, but we should first thank our sponsors, as always. Felicity's usually the one who remembers to do the sponsor part, but today we are drinking our usual writer's block. It's a Zinfandel. I don't know if you can see that, if my camera can focus. Anyway, we've got good old Bill Shakespeare on the cover. I don't know how big of a wine drinker are you, Kevin?
Not too big.
No?
Although
You got to drive back
I'll
to
enjoy
Santa Monica,
every once in a
so
while.
we won't
Exactly.
go crazy with the boozing tonight.
and anything endorsed by Shakespeare.
Yeah. Well, of course, I spill a little. Thank you to Steel Wines. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Welcome.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. If you're drinking, raise your glass. As you can see, we don't have any stems tonight. We went with the stemless. I only had one clean stem
glass.
So I went with the stemless. Whatever, it works. All right, so as you can see in the comments, we've got our wine sponsor, Steel Wines. They're awesome. Pretty much every single week they're our wine sponsor, and we love them, and their wine is really yummy, so you should drink it. I don't know what else to say about that.
It is. It's a very nice wine.
It's really yummy. And the Zinfandel usually has a nice, harsh, not harsh in a bad way, but strong cherry flavor, and this is, right on the nose. But Zinfandel is one of my favorites. I could talk about wine all night long. But, and of course, as you can see on the screen, we've got Lee Jessup as one of our sponsors. Lee is a career coach. She was on a few weeks ago with me and Felicity, and you should go to our Facebook page and watch that interview. Lee is just a wealth of information. She knows everything there is to know about the industry, and she's incredibly helpful. In terms of the difference between what Cameron and I do and what Lee does like 25 to 35% creative support and heavy notes and developmental notes. But then, the reverse of that is she's focusing on your career, how to apply to fellowships, and what do we do? It's like the opposite of that.
Right. A lot more focus on the writing and helping develop the scripts. And I mean, we've both been in the industry a long time, and we have knowledge about it. But or at least I don't profess that to be my expertise
Right,
in terms
exactly.
of how do you
Yeah.
navigate. I can always have suggestions, but Lee is someone who that's what
she's
her
an expert.
focus is.
Yeah, she's an expert. And one thing she said in that video that it just Felicity and I finally subscribed to Hollywood Reporter, and we're going to start getting that on a weekly basis. But we need to be reading the trades all the time. We have to find out and understand and know what everybody else is doing, just so that not only we can just stay up with the trends, but just so that we can be knowledgeable about what's going on. Who are the players in town? Who's making what? How many movies is Netflix making? If you go to IMDb Pro and look up the number of projects they have, not only in development but in production, like literally in production right now, it's like almost 70 different projects.
Right.
It's insane. Now, granted, they're the distributor, but they are paying for that content. Of course, other producers are coming in and making it, but.
Yeah.
And, it's and that's just Netflix. So that's not including Amazon and Hulu and whatever Apple's going to end up doing, and then the Disney streaming. It's just so that's just the streaming and all these networks. Anyway, Lee is awesome. You should go to leejessup.com and find out more about her if you're looking for that direct career coaching. And thank you, of course, Lee, for sponsoring tonight. But okay, so what was I going to talk about? So pretty much the same announcements we had last week. It's just less time you have to apply. We've got the early deadline for Park City. Table read my screenplay, Park City. So we're going to be taking 2 winners, possibly, I think it's 2, maybe 3, to Park City for the during the Sundance Film Festival. That deadline is on September 27th. And then we also have an Emerging Screenwriters Shoot Your Sizzle contest. So people apply. It's usually some form of a short that they apply for, or they put a feature in there and then they write the short version, or we shoot a literal sizzle, like a trailer for the project. And we just finished our first one.
That's awesome.
A few weeks ago. I shouldn't say we. It's really more Felicity and Craig and Molly's in there, and they're really digging in. I don't have that much to do with the Shoot Your Sizzle, but the sizzle looks amazing. Like, it really looks good. And it got me tearing up because it's this kind of emotional and inspirational story, and it looks really good. So I don't know when we're going to release that. Hopefully soon, because everybody should watch that, and hopefully it makes you submit to Shoot Your Sizzle. That's let's see. It's open now for submissions for Shoot Your Sizzle, but it's $19. So if you submit one script, I think it's $35, and then if any script after that, like your second or third or fourth submission, is only $19. And I think one of the winners recently in the last one, he submitted 4, and the 4th one he submitted on a whim, ended up being the one that everybody loved and they chose as the winner and stuff. So. Okay, so we've got Table Read My Screenplay, Park City. That deadline's September 27th, and then we've got Emerging Screenwriters Shoot Your Sizzle. And then tomorrow night, if you're in Los Angeles or Cleveland, or God, we have so many different cities, but we do a Third Thursdays event.
Right.
You've been to that.
Yep.
It's just a social. Sometimes we do panels and different speaking events and stuff, but tomorrow night, it's the 3rd Thursday of the month, which is unbelievable that we're already that quickly through
Yeah. September just flew
I
by.
think the summer's over in 2 days.
Yeah.
It's weird. But we've got our 3rd Thursday here in Los Angeles, and I think we're in Cleveland and Chicago and New York, and I think we have one in Toronto as well. I guess where Cameron's from. He's in Toronto.
Isn't there one in Africa?
Do we have one in Dar es Salaam?
Or Rhodesia or something?
I don't know if we have one in Africa yet. I could be wrong.
I know there have been some.
There have definitely
Yeah.
been a lot, overseas. I can't remember the exact cities, but you can go to that link that James just posted up there, Third Thursdays, and you can see all the different cities. So if you're near any of them, you should go. If you want to host your own, reach out to us at support@networkisa.org.
Hey, it's Sean, my friend Sean Reed, our friend Sean Reed.
Hey, Sean Reed liked our post. Yeah, Sean, Cameron and I used to work together at Writers Boot Camp. That's how I came to know Cameron.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sean's
if
my
watching.
tennis coach as well.
Ha! Nice. I should probably do that just to
really
get into
really
shape.
helped my forehand.
I only have a forehand. I don't have a backhand. All right, so that's we got Third Thursdays coming up tomorrow night, and then 10% off any Story Farm package you want to buy. So if you want to just buy a package of calls, or if you want to do 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, you can email me, max@thestoryfarm.org. And if you wanted to have Cameron as your coach, I'm sure he'd be happy to take care
I
of it.
would be happy, sure,
Yeah.
of course.
What do you have? Yeah, I think you have 4 or 5 writers? 4 writers right now, I think. 3 or 4.
Active right now, yes.
Active right now, yeah. I have more than Cameron. Cameron doesn't have as much time as I do because I don't really have much of a social life. But But he is looking for some more writers if you guys are interested, and we've got some room. All right. Anyway, so that's all the announcements. Let's just get to know who you are.
Okay.
Who are you?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's good. Let's get deep for a second. No, so you're from Toronto. What happened?
That's
so
right.
Where'd you go? You go to high school in Toronto, or where did you go?
Well, suburb of Toronto, and I actually started my career in the entertainment industry as an actor. I was in a
Canadian soap
popular Canadian,
Yeah.
Degrassi High, which is
Yes.
a high school
kind of like a
kids in high
Saved by
school.
the Bell kind of American version in a way.
Yeah, a Canadian, a little bit more social issue oriented.
Got it.
More drama. Like every week, a different kid from school is dealing with a different thing, whether it's like having to have an abortion
What were you
or dealing
dealing
with abuse or.
What did you have to deal with?
My big thing was that I was sexist. So I was more.
At what age?
I was like a senior in the
Okay.
high school. My character.
Okay.
Of course, I'm not.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I'm a
let's get
feminist.
this straight.
Okay. But my character back then was a sexist, and I was more of the opponent character in
The bad
my
guy,
biggest
if you will.
episode. Yeah, with Anais Granovsky. If anybody's familiar with the show, Anais Granovsky, who played Lucy, who was one of the main characters. I played a senior who she was interested in dating and perhaps going to the prom with.
And she
But
found
then
out
we
you
got
made
into
one.
a confrontation because I was the captain of the men's basketball team and she was on the girls volleyball team, and
How does she win? Does she win in some way? Like overcome, or like, if you're the opponent?
well, she realizes she stands up for what she believes in, is that
Okay.
there should be equal rights.
Got it.
And she does that at the sacrificing whatever she could have had with me,
Yeah,
because
right.
when we're at a meeting where we're trying to argue or debating of who should have what practice time and when, my character is
The boys
saying,
are
hey,
more
exactly, we've been
Yeah.
champions, and this is men's basketball, and come on,
Nobody
girls
cares about
volleyball.
girls
No,
volleyball.
that's the exact line that I have at one point. Nobody cares about girls volleyball, or as we say in Canada, about girls volleyball.
Boobs, yeah, right.
That's my big famous
So
line.
if you
from
were a
Degrassi
regular
High.
on the show, we're going way off on a tangent, but
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. If you were a regular on the show, how did you not just always be a jerk? Or was,
Well, so the way that show worked is there was a very large cast.
okay.
Okay, so there's and then the sort of core main characters. There were maybe 6 or 8, maybe
Regulars.
they're like sort of 4 sort of main core characters,
Yeah.
and then 4 more sort of sub main core characters, and then 12 more that would
Got
sort of
it.
be, and then 12 more of that
Oh,
that
my
were
Lord.
all in there, because
Wow.
they really went for the realism of hey,
Yeah,
these are
yeah,
all
yeah.
people in the high school.
Yeah.
And so when I joined the show had been going for 5 years.
Oh,
I
wow.
was in the 5th season, so my character came in as, not one of these
Yeah.
core characters, came in as a character that could be someone that in my case it was the Lucy character, who had been one of the core
regular
characters,
got it. Okay.
going for
Yeah.
4 seasons, and I was a character brought in to be able to be someone that she
Okay.
could play off of and have her story.
Yeah.
So her overcoming was being able to be strong enough to stand for what she believed in and
Right.
and speak her,
Did
her
you shrivel
voice.
up into a little ball and everybody's like, yeah, Lucy?
Yeah, it was.
How weird is that it's still timely? And this was probably, what, 20,
Yeah, it was.
20 years ago?
It was. 1989.
89.
And that 1990, I guess, is when it came
Yeah.
out. So 28 years ago.
28 years ago.
That
was
whole
1990.
idea of. Obviously, sexism was around then.
Yeah, right. It definitely was even more so, but now it's just that much more vocal, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
What the hell? All right, so from there, what happened? Did you move to Los Angeles?
And then I went to university in Canada, York University, an acting program there, which is like a conservatory program at a university. Graduated from there, did more acting work in Canada, theater and also television
Okay.
commercials and things, and moved to Los Angeles. in
When did you
the
move
late
here?
90s. 1998 was my
Okay.
when I first moved to Los Angeles, and then I was back and forth. I did another show in Canada called Paradise Falls, which is
Oh, that's right.
the primetime soap that
That's
you
right.
were saying.
Yeah.
So that show I did in the sort of mid 2000s, 2003 to 2000, or actually 2001 to 2007. We worked on that.
Wow, that long.
show. Yeah.
So you okay? So we can fast forward then. Writers Boot Camp was at the time one of the biggest schools for screenwriters. It was both live and online, and I ended up starting there in 2006, and I think you were there before me.
Much earlier, yeah. I was. When did I start? Maybe 2002 or 2003.
So you were going back and forth between LA and.
That's right. Yeah. So
Okay.
I started as a student at Writers Boot Camp in probably 2002.
Wow.
Because then in 2003 I had to go back to Toronto to work on Paradise Falls. So then I was gone for
Got it.
like a year.
Okay.
So I was on sabbatical, then came back and then completed the course. So I was on
yeah.
sabbatical from.
Right. There were a
And
lot of
that's
terms.
sabbatical is probably not the right word, but whatever.
Right.
Whatever it is, my course was on hold, and then I came back and completed it. So probably finished up maybe in 2004 or early 2005, and then
So
not
Jan-
long after that, joined the staff.
Right. So basically, between 2006 and 2012, we were working together at Writers Boot Camp. There was back and forth time off every now and then because I think had.
I went back again to Toronto
And I
to
went
do
back
another
to
season of
Chicago,
Paradise
and
Falls.
It was back and
yeah.
forth. Yeah. So since 2012, what have you been doing since 2012? You've been just doing a bunch of different things, right? And you've been coaching and working with writers, but
Yeah, still acting,
Yeah.
working on various acting
Yeah.
projects, a couple different portals through which I did some
Coaching and
script
consulting,
coaching and consulting.
Right.
Some of it just on my own, some of it with a couple different organizations.
Right.
And then I guess it's a couple years ago now.
it's been, I think, it's over 2 years. It's been a while.
with Story Farm.
Yeah.
Which has definitely been my most enjoyable time working as a coach. I've always loved working as a coach, but with Story Farm, it's there's
There's a lot more
there's-
freedom.
Yeah.
I just let the coaches do what they feel is necessary because I know they've been doing this a while. I don't try to micromanage you guys at all. I should probably be in more touch than I actually am. But the reason why I brought Cameron on is one of the reasons why we're talking about this topic tonight, the character flaw, just emotion on the page. It's purposely open-ended and a little general in terms of what does that mean, because emotion on the page. If you don't have emotion on the page, and it's like you're wasting your time. But in terms of character flaw, I think it is important at least to distinguish the word flaw, and it inherently has a negative connotation to it, as if something's wrong with somebody. And I think a lot of writers, especially in early stages of their development as a writer, they think a flaw needs to be a bad thing or it's a physical ailment or something. And it's much more than that. A flaw could be a good thing, right? I mean, like, give even just some examples. Or
well, someone who is obsessively driven,
right,
is that could be that we could call that a flaw because it's going to impact certain areas of that person's
people
life
around
adversely,
them, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And people around them, it
Yeah.
affects them adversely. But at the same time, if someone's obsessively driven, it's probably going to provide some positive
Be
results
success.
for someone.
Yeah, he's probably gonna make a lot
because
of
if you're
money.
obsessively driven, maybe you make money and you
Right.
succeed in things that you're going for. But if we're writing a character whose flaw is that they're obsessively driven, we're going to see the successes, but we'll see how that flaw is impacting them in their personal life,
Right.
maybe driving away relationships,
Yeah.
maybe affecting their relationships with family members.
Yeah.
And so other areas of their life that this person wants, hey, I want to get into a
And
relationship, but they
what-
can't because this
So
flaw
what
that
does
they
that
have.
just inherently and naturally, I use the word inherently again, but naturally create, but it creates a situation. It creates a level of there's that word, again, general, but a level of conflict for that character, because I'm finding success here because of my flaw. I'm not finding success because of, in this spot because of my flaw. Which is more important? Usually the adventure or the second act that type of character goes through is to show, this other side is more important while I'm doing all of this stuff. the career-driven person is going to be focused only on, him or herself and trying to improve the status, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they have to correct some issue with their significant.
And there we're talking about the main character or the central character.
Mm-hmm.
So we might have a secondary character who is obsessively driven.
Right.
And we're not going to spend any time with them with what they're doing in their family. They have this flaw of being obsessively driven. Well, they're there to impact whoever the main character is and their story. So other characters have flaws, and usually those flaws are there to impact the main character.
And that's the primary difference between the secondary character and the opponent, or the villain, if you have one, whatever you want to call the bad person, the bad guy, bad girl. The opponent is specifically attempting to stop the main character from achieving his or her goal by putting obstacles in front of him. The secondary character is purposely putting obstacles in front of that main character in order to support that character. And there's a fine line. A lot of times in romantic comedies, you see them flip. Sally and When Harry Met Sally is both an opponent and a secondary character because they go back and forth. We can keep going into flaws, but this is a good question. James asks, with all your experience as an actor, what about that helped you as a writer? Do you recommend writers getting acting experience? So when you're looking at a script and it's your character, other than just the nuances of the scenes and the lines, and it's so easy for an actor, I assume, to live within a scene. What's my intent here? Who wins the scene? Who loses the scene? Why? But how do you notice flaw? I mean, it helps because you've been reading so many scripts and coaching writers.
Yeah.
But what do you look for when you're?
It's funny, because at this stage of my career, because I've spent so much time in both disciplines,
right?
They've really just merged for me and blended exactly. Right. So I wouldn't be able to look at an acting role without just inherently, subconsciously bringing in things that I think how I look at a script as a writer, and vice versa. As a writer, I wouldn't be able to not have my experience as an actor inform some of the things that I'm writing. But I would recommend writers to do that. A lot of writers get into improv, to do improv for obvious reasons, because that's going to help with writing dialogue, help you be quick thinking, particularly comedy writers.
I think what improv and acting does for a writer is how you see a character respond to a situation from that character's level of flaw. Because especially if it's a dramatic scene, even if it's a comedic scene, most comedy comes from and out of a dramatic situation. If you just watch any Will Ferrell movie, Will Ferrell's characters are always in some way extremely self-conscious about something, and so they're covering up by being louder or more ridiculous. Anchorman is a perfect example. He knows he's an idiot, but he's using that. And so in every situation that Ron Burgundy is in, he's going to come at it from, I'm going to use
putting on the
flaw.
Machismo.
I'm going to be the sexist person because it's worked for me. And so that flaw shines in every response that character has to another character.
Right.
And actors, I assume, see that when they're looking at certain scenes. And it's why some actors, whether they've been doing it a long time or not, may look at a scene and go, I don't think he or she would say that. And it's coming from that place of, not I know who this person is. I mean, there's a level of that. But it's because the flaw at this point, and structure plays a lot into it too. Where is the flaw in the overall scope of the journey this character is going on? Because that flaw is technically what evolves, not just the character.
Right.
And anyway, it's like a deep rabbit hole. And that's why it's such an open-ended topic, character flaw, because it hits everything else in the whole script.
Yeah, and even the topic of the cross disciplines of acting and writing. I mean, there's so many different ways that it can, but it really comes down to one's own experience, because my experience as an actor is going to inform my writing in a certain way. Someone else who, like a writer who has never done acting, who's like, oh, okay, I'm going to try this. Who knows what that experience, how that experience might inform their writing, what they're going to learn. But just by going through that process of being asked to, as a writer, you're drawing the character, you're designing the character. As an actor, you're being asked to express the character, to
Right.
be the character.
Yeah.
So as a writer who has not acted, to actually put themselves into an acting class or to take on some kind of role, I think each individual is going to discover their own things on that path.
There's a
of
huge
how it can
level of
inform their
discovering
writing.
a voice.
Yeah.
Like, who am I in this situation? I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be a character because I'm just improvising within a weird situation, which is technically all writing. You know, you come up
Yeah.
with some form of, well, here's a general situation. I'm going to put a character in that. And you're just improvising. That's what making up that first draft
Sure.
is. Does this work?
Didn't Sofia Coppola won Best Screenplay for Lost in Translation, which was a totally improvised
A lot of it was
script,
improv.
right? It was like it was written kind of like as you say, and Mike Nichols does this a lot as well, where, and we call this as in acting classes or theater games or whatever we call them,
Right.
structured improvs, where
Oh, sure.
there's a lot built around what
You're
you're
in a
doing.
plane, one of the pilots is asleep and you're drunk. Go.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. So that's where it goes, and then an even more structured environment might even give even more information, like on a Mike Nichols thing or with in Lost in Translation. I'm sure there was like even each actor was given more information, and here it
Yeah.
is, and here's what time it is,
Right.
and you're in the hotel room, and you've just suffered this, or you've just been through this,
Right.
and now I want you to, be in that situation.
Yeah.
And so the words on the page aren't. Well, in this instance, there are no words on the page. But what the director's doing in that instance is saying the words on the page aren't what's important. What's important for you, what's important from my standpoint as the director to see from you as the actor, is for you to just allow yourself to be in the situation,
Right.
as opposed to the words.
And
There's
that
sorry,
actor-
but can I?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to
Go
say
ahead.
because I just want to? I saw Gene Wilder on the Actors Studio.
He's so great.
Yeah, fantastic, and he was so this
must
wild
have been years
comedic
ago because he doesn't-
several years ago,
Yeah.
and so he was talking about when he did the Woody Allen movie, Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex but Were Afraid to Ask.
Yeah,
or-
right.
Yeah, and so and that's there's a few different stories in that, and Gene Wilder's is he falls in love with a sheep.
Yes, God,
Right?
I vaguely remember that movie.
And in this interview on the Actors Studio, he was talking about that, working on that project, and Woody Allen, who was directing, and I can't remember if Woody Allen was actually the writer of the screenplay or not, but one of the directions that Woody Allen gave to Gene Wilder was, just and don't worry about the lines. If you want to say something different, you can. Just.
Make it up.
The lines aren't. You don't have to be word perfect. I'm not
Okay,
looking for
right,
that,
right,
right?
right.
And so Gene Wilder said, like, when I got that direction, what I realized is that Woody Allen could see, and what he was telling me in that direction was that the humor and the comedy isn't coming from the words that are being
Right,
said.
yeah.
The word in the comedy is coming from just the situation of this man being in love with a sheep.
Right.
And so he said it made my job as an actor much easier because then I was just focused on being in the situation,
Right,
that
right.
it wasn't the words and the writing.
Yeah.
And that's something that we as writers can know that we don't have to give, like, the words sometimes are the least important thing.
It's about expressing the level of emotion
Yeah.
within the scene and then the situation that is within the scene between the characters who are in it.
Right.
And
And,
I
so a
think-
man being in love with a sheep, what's said if he says, "Oh, I really like your curly hair," or
Right.
"or your hair is so soft," like those words aren't as important as just being in the moment of him
Right.
really being in love with his
Yeah,
sheep.
right.
And that's what Gene Wilder was saying. He's like, "Okay, I just got to be in love with the sheep and not worry about what words are being said."
And
I
that
just
in
want
of itself draws the ridiculousness.
yeah. And so he committed
yeah.
to really being in love with this sheep, and so he didn't ever let himself come out of it and judge himself for
Right.
being in
Oh,
love
I
with the
didn't
sheep.
get that line right.
Yeah, there was never any actor things like that because he didn't have to worry about that. All
Right.
he had to do was be committed to
Yeah.
the situation.
And it says so much about, like, in some really great scenes, you could come in at any point of a movie and go, I know who that character is. I know what type of person that person
Right.
is. Because of just the little bits of DNA that are living within that scene that are then being expressed within the situation of the scene. Like, I use this example all the time, but the writer, of Diner, Barry
Levinson.
I think I even heard this example from a guest when we were at Writers Boot Camp or something. But oh no, it was Barry Levinson.
That's right, because he did wasn't the screening of.
I don't remember, but it was an
of
interview
movies.
that was done,
Yeah.
and Barry gives this. I'm going to pour some more wine, but Barry gives this really fun example about how he was taking an improv class, and the example he was given was a little bit more. And just by the way, everybody, I do see some questions up there, and we'll get to them. And hello from Tasmania. That's amazing. Martin will will definitely say hi to Tasmania. But Barry was saying that he was given this basic situation. Your wife is leaving you, and he walks in the setup of the two actors was Barry walks into the bedroom and his wife is packing. And he says something like, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm leaving you, I'm packing." And he walks over and he says, "Please don't leave." And he's trying to convince her not to leave. But while he's convincing her not to leave, he's helping her pack. And it's so beautiful and brilliant because it's so subtle when you actually see the character's real intentions and emotions and what he actually wants. So the line technically doesn't mean anything. It's a literal example of the line means nothing. Yeah. It's what the character is doing and how they're actually acting. And that's why on page, which is kind of referencing this, how do you show emotion on the page, it's through the basic blocking that you as the writer
the
can
context of the scene will create more of it. Because as you point out, the words that are being said, often an actor is going to make a choice to go against, or even if they say the exact words that are there, they're going to say them with a different intention. Very rarely do actors say the words and have the intention of exactly what the words are. Right. And good writers are writing that way, knowing that.
They know they need to get to a point in a scene that sometimes there might be one line, yes, that line needs to be stated as is because it's the most important line of the scene. The actors need to work their way to that line and use these other lines as references. Now, the irony is we're making it seem like the writer isn't all that important because we work so hard in trying to get the lines down. But it's also why what we do with Story Farm is to tell the writers, don't get into the pages so quickly. Do all the work up front. Don't worry about the lines. Set up the situation based on the character's flaw. And it's one of the early things that we do is work with the writer and who is this character, brainstorming paragraph, just basic freehand writing. What are the flaws this character has, literally even if it's physical or mental, or if it's just as simple as they don't believe in themselves. You then keep going with that development. What else can I say and do about this character to then put this person, girl or guy or animated character, into situations that are going to draw that out. I just watched Inside Out again the other night, and with the Pixar movie, and it just makes me cry with every moment on screen. But you literally have joy and sadness needing to work together. That's the entire movie,
right?
And you just see them in these different situations, and part of the midpoint complication is when Bing Bong loses his cart, like that magic cart, and he's crying candy, and Joy is trying to cheer Bing Bong up, and it's not working, and Sadness comes over and uses her literal sadness, and Bing Bong feels better. And you see this realization come over Joy's face, and it's like, oh my God, I totally understand what this movie's about. And the lines, it doesn't matter what they're saying. Yeah. And it's just about the situation that those characters are in, because you have their names are their flaws. Yeah. They're overly joyful and completely sad, and so they're going to be acting from that. You have to.
And the beauty of that is that it's in Inside Out. It's about
a girl.
All of those, that joy and sadness and this are all part of just one person.
Right.
And it's when they become integrated that they actually work together. You need sadness with the joy to be that fully integrated.
It's a situation that the writers devised where they said, we have to figure out a way to show a 12-year-old girl who doesn't know how to differentiate between joy and sadness.
Yeah.
What? And it's just brilliant. And now your project, the good thing isn't going to be that complicated. But what's brilliant about Inside Out is how simple they actually made a complicated concept. Yeah. So, anyway, let's see what else we got here. So, what did Martin ask? Watching from Tasmania, how important is an early read-through to see what's missing? I think it's important, but it depends on how early.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like when you say early read-through, it really depends on how well developed the script is. Because when you're doing a read-through, it's more about hearing the dialogue, I think.
Shoring up the things that may not be working.
Yeah.
As opposed to a script that's only in a first or draft mode where you haven't even really figured out
Structural
this the
issues and
best
even
scene?
some conceptual
where
issues.
is this scene existing? Yeah, the structural, is midpoint complication or the low point low enough or the complication complicating enough? Those things you don't need to read for.
Yeah. I would say that, like when I hear the word early, that suggests to me that the material still needs to be more developed. And I don't think that a read-through is that important in an early stage.
Because, and actually it's a good question, Martin, because the audience watching, if let's say you have 12 people in the audience and they're watching your actors up on stage or whatever, the audience in the audience, the audience in the audience,
in the auditorium,
they're going to be focused on the words that these people are saying, little by little, moment by moment, and then they're going to either laugh or not laugh, or they go, "Well, that scene was kind of weird, and I didn't really." And then they're also going to be thinking, "Well, I didn't understand what you were," and it's going to confuse you because what you should be focusing on is primary sequencing and outlining and what happens when and why, the why of course being more important. And the audience isn't going to be thinking that so much. They're going to be like, "Oh, I just don't really like this character," and they're not going to be able to explain why. And a coach or anybody, a fellow screenwriter, will be able to know how to tell you the why.
I think in early drafts there's more value in working with a coach, or having a trusted friend who's going to read the script and give you notes and be able to discuss, as opposed to a read through, which if we're talking early, again, when I hear early, I don't think it's developed. I would think like third, fourth draft is territory where you want to get a read through, because then you want to maybe hear like how does it flow, and then you as the writer can sit outside and hopefully objectively just try to listen and think like, okay, is that scene really flowing to the next scene?
And it's easy to become discouraged. Like, let's say people in the audience don't really like it that much. That's not really fair to you because you haven't developed it that much.
Right.
And so then suddenly you might be like, oh God, this isn't really working very well, or maybe I need to change everything. And you might need to, but you shouldn't need other audience members to tell you that. You should just have a coach or take an online class or have fellow writers group or people working with you. That's one thing that we do with the Story Farm, is that most of the sequencing and outlining, I tend to call that the first and second draft, and you're not even getting to pages,
right?
Because you're working through all of the sequences, and then the scenes within the sequences, and then the moments in the scenes within the sequences, and then you're moving things around, and so you're writing and rewriting well before you even get to the pages, so that by the time you do get to the pages, it feels like a third draft, second or third draft. You've been doing it for 4 months.
I was going to say that when we were talking about the actor question earlier. And you were talking, and you were saying about what you just said, developing all the characters, doing all that conceptual work, building that up before you get to pages.
Yeah.
When a writer's done that, they've kind of put themselves in the situation where they are the actor for all the characters.
Totally.
And then writing the dialogue or writing the actions of a character in these different scenes, they're going to come out of the writer intuitively,
right?
Because they've already. They understand who these people are, and they understand what the story is, so where they're trying to go. And so then the writing, the scripting, the writing of the dialogue is more fun. Exactly. It's more playful, and it's just and it's coming out as opposed to a grind of like, oh, what do I see?
When
here?
you're trying to figure out the right line, it usually means the scene may not be the right scene.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, I just had some thoughts in my head in terms of if you know the character so well, and then the overall and overriding concept so well, like the overall situation of the movie or TV show, the scene itself doesn't really matter unless you're trying to figure out structurally where does it go, because you could put the character anywhere, you just put him, you do anything, it doesn't really matter unless you're then going, well, wait a minute, this scene is pretty important because the character is overcoming a flaw or whatever, but it's happening on page like 11. That's way too early for somebody to overcome a major obstacle. They're usually being presented with some kind of an opportunity that they don't realize will lead them to having to confront these obstacles.
And we're seeing them make mistakes with their flaw usually in that early stage. We're setting up like, this is what this person's flaw is. Right. They're not overcoming it yet because we have to see that they have it.
Right. Well, and it's something a lot of coaches say, don't worry about structure, and who cares about 3-act structure or 5-act structure or 7. And I understand what they're saying, but then again, if you just throw structure out, then you're just going to be writing a character flaw for, it could go on to 200 pages.
Right.
And then that flaw is going to get old, and they're not going to correct anything, and you're not paying attention to, wait, I'm at page 35, and nothing's been presented to them in terms of the new journey or adventure they're going to go on.
Right.
So I always preach, and a lot of people say, no, don't say this, but I always preach, at least understand the formula and the basic cookie-cutter approach, so that then you can start rounding the edges and changing things and go, well, I don't really want to be so cookie-cutter. So what can I do? Can I, start out the movie at the end? And then, not that has never been done, but, how can I rearrange things, but still at least allow the audience to have a level of expectation? Because sometimes you watch a movie like Memento, and Memento ended up doing incredibly well, of course, but because it just became like pop culture amazing. Mm-hmm. But my parents probably would have watched that and thought, the hell is this?
Right.
I had to think too hard, and not that
and you certainly would have to go into that movie already being told, like, oh, hey, this movie goes backwards, right? Or has this, the guy with memory loss. And I think most people, the reason why it did well is that was part of the hype around it. It's like, oh, you have to go see this movie because he has short-term memory loss, so you keep seeing that. So you're already prepared going in, whereas if someone goes in and they're not prepared for that,
it can still be rewarding.
Could be, but it's going to take them a while, to kind of figure it out, and then you could get lost.
A really fun example, actually, a little more current than Memento, but Felicity and I just the other night, I finally watched this movie, and I think you can see it on one of the streaming services. But Scott, Marcus, our friend Scott also works for the ISA, but he recommended this movie to me years ago, and I think it was like, literally, I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. He said, you have to watch this. And I finally watched it, and it's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I don't know if you've heard of this. And Scott's a big paranormal horror fan and stuff, and so I knew it was a horror movie, but it's a horror comedy, and I also knew that. I'm like, all right, I like horror comedy. I just never got around to watching it. Felicity and I turned it on, and it was the first 3 minutes or so was extremely cliche. I could tell, wait, if they're not doing this on purpose, this is really bad.
Is it like horror cliche?
The beginning of horror cliche.
Okay.
It was a bunch of high school teenagers who were acting like high school teenagers going off to camp for a weekend. It was a secluded cabin in the woods. It was literally that, and they're going into West Virginia, kind of, Podunkville.
Deliverance town.
They see Tucker and Dale, and the teenagers are thinking, oh my God, these people are really weird, they're going to kill us or whatever. And Felicity literally said out loud after the first 3 minutes, I already hate it.
Right.
I'm like, well, let's give it a little bit more. It turned out to be totally brilliant. And I don't want to give anything away, but the evil is not even remotely what you expect it to be.
Right.
And Tucker and Dale they're just such great characters, and you love these guys. And the situation is so ridiculous, but you can't help but just yelp and scream and over and over. So point being, you can actually use the very typical structure to your strength sometimes too, to just throw the audience off a little bit. And then suddenly something happens and you're like, oh my God, what if we did this? And the audience is going to think, what? And it's going to change everything.
Well, that's the thing, what you just said about using it to your strengths, because most people watching or listening, and certainly the two of us who have studied it and coached it, we know story structure. Lay audiences know story structure inherently, subconsciously.
Totally.
Right? So they may not be able to articulate it or talk about it or even recognize it, but if they're watching something that is out of structure, they're going to feel like it's not working. They're going to recognize
a rhythm thing.
Exactly. Just like how songs work. And so you can do what you were saying, play with structure, because audiences all know it in their hearts or in their subconscious. I mean, story is it's a universal thing.
Yeah.
And so then when you know the, as you called it, like the cookie cutter or just the basics,
Yeah.
then you know how you can flip things on an audience, how you
Right.
can use structure as a strength.
Yeah.
And that's really what we focus, I think, in Story Farm.
Right.
Is how do you use structure not to bottle yourself in
Right.
and force you to like, oh, I've got to, connect all the dots. No, it's use structure as the vehicle that'll allow you to
And also
lift it up and play with
directly
the
in
audience.
connection with Flaw, because the sequence approach that we use is looking at who the character is in the first sequence and presenting that flaw. Here's who you're dealing with, good or bad. Here's
Yeah.
who you're dealing with. The second sequence sometimes combines with the third, whatever, however you want to argue it, but there's a presentation of an opportunity that's going to challenge that flaw in some way. The third sequence, again, sometimes merged with the second, is introducing a character who is going to support that character in some way, which in other words is going to support that flaw and to evolve it as it goes.
To help be the helper
All
or
based
the
on
ally.
the flaw.
Yeah.
Whatever the problem is with this character. Liar, liar, I use that example all the time because it's just a perfect example of flaw. And that flaw being tested literally. He can no longer lie.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the middle of the movie is about him not being able to. So what do? You have to tell the truth all the time. And that flaw then becomes, changed and evolved because of the kid.
Right.
And this kid made away. I mean, it's so ridiculously over the top, but because you're watching Jim Carrey and the situation is something you haven't really seen,
Yeah.
it's still entertaining. But it's all still directly related to the flaw the whole time. And if you ever feel that your script's kind of going in a direction where you don't really go back to the character's flaw. Where are you? Am I in sequence 4 or 5? What's supposed to be happening, generally speaking? Am I hitting that? Probably not. I'm going too long. Or, the midpoint complication is something that's going to... the twist comes from this idea of, oh no, I thought I was doing it right, now I'm not. The doing it right is based on, I've been approaching this goal with my flaw still intact. Now I can't approach that goal with the flaw anymore. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
When Harry
And that's
was
what you
Sal,
say, that structure is related to that
It's
character
directly
journey,
connected.
to that flaw.
Yeah.
It's not connected to plot.
No, it isn't.
Plot is just the result of you creating a structure of this character journey with the character flaw.
Yeah.
But the structure is, what's the status of the main character flaw?
Yeah, it's like you can track the flaw the whole way.
Yeah.
And then the low point is how all of the things that he was trying to do, he thought he was over, or she thought he was overcoming some kind of flaw, and oh my God, I had a victory. Nope, nothing worked. Back to flaw. Now it's like I'm just going to sit in it. I'm pissed. I'm going to be an alcoholic again, or I'm going to do whatever, and I'm going to lie, or whatever. Now I'm going to sit in it because nothing worked. I told you so. It's kind of an I told you so moment. I knew this wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Again,
Self-pity.
Yeah, it's a total
It's a
self-pity.
regression back into like, damn.
Yeah. Let's see.
And it's often because they didn't, the other aspect of the low point is that leading up to that, I call it like the false high, because usually the main character, it looks like they're kind of getting over their flaw, but they're not really. It's usually more of a sort of a cosmetic
thing that you're going to pull the rug out.
Like Groundhog Day is a great example of that, right? Where he's going through this sequence where he's trying to learn everything about Andy McDowell, and he's so look, I'm not a selfish person. I want to know you like French poetry. I'm going to learn French poetry.
Right.
But he's still doing all that stuff ultimately for a selfish reason, and so that's why he falls to the low point, because it won't succeed because he's still being selfish.
Right.
And then he falls to that low point. He's hit rock bottom, and now he has the chance to
has
actually
nothing
learn
else to do.
Yeah, except just be selfless and loving to everybody. And then in doing that, then he finally wins Andy McDowell
Right.
over.
Yeah.
So that's a really good example of like what you're doing when you get to that low point. There's usually, it looks like maybe they're getting it, but they're not really.
Right. No, they don't understand. And then that's when sometimes plot can also become involved. We're like, oh, we're winning. We are going to discover the Declaration of Independence. Oh, no, they stole it.
Yeah.
I always use the National Treasure example. We have some fun comments in terms of people saying hello to everybody. Carlos, Mike, Joe, thank Joe for saying such nice things. Joe's one of our Story Farm writers from Australia. I've had a lot of writers from Australia. I don't know if we're advertising well there, but anyway. Let's see. EJ says, in the script, he supposedly went through the same day over 1,000 years. Interesting. 1,000 years.
That's true, in Groundhog Day. Yes.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
funny. Wow. What
Yeah,
time
because
was
it's
that?
actually based on like a Buddhist principle. The original writer, Harold Ramis, rewrote a lot of the script afterwards, but the original
Interesting.
writer,
right,
that
folks.
he actually does. And I don't think that if you watch the movie, there's not enough different clips to be able to show that was 1,000 years. But EJ's right that is the backstory with the writer was that it's 1,000 years of
That's
doing that
crazy.
same
No
thing.
wonder he tries to kill himself. God, that'd be awful.
Could you imagine hearing that Sonny and Cher song
Every morning for
1,000 years?
No. I would have stolen the groundhog too.
No wonder he's breaking that clock radio.
Yeah. Even if it was a month, it was still it's just a great movie. All right, folks. So we've got 10 minutes left. That means
Wow, this flew by like
Totally.
September
It
flew
always-
by.
seriously, it always flies by. But we promised trivia, so we're going to do trivia. So everybody listening, I'm going to call it out now. You got to get your fingers ready. I don't have any like trivia music. If this was a professional show, we'd actually be like,
Trivia time.
Is that the Canadian version?
I don't know.
All right, so I'm going to be asking questions. I think because in the past we've had people get like 4 people get one right, and I say, oh, we're going to ask 5 questions. It's like, oh well, so we're going to do let's do 7.
Okay.
Do 7 questions. If there's a tie, then we'll have to do a tiebreaker or whatever. But whoever has the most right after 7 questions, I'll make sure to be refreshing and commenting. And James, just pay attention in case we miss somebody. I know in the past, because of certain internet connections, some people may have commented, but we didn't see it. If that person is first James and you see it, anybody can call us out just so that we want to be fair. All right, this one, we went through a couple of these. This is going to be easy. We already went through this one. It's going to be really easy. I'm going to say that out loud. Get ready to type. What was the name of the second Indiana Jones movie released in 1984? Second Indiana Jones movie. Cameron's typing for us. Second Indiana Jones movie.
Kate Capshaw.
No helps. Helps. No helpies.
Oh, does that help? Does that help them
Probably.
get it?
I don't know. But the funny thing is that there we go.
Probably-
No, it is not Lost Ark, Bruno.
No, the second movie. The second
Temple
movie.
of Doom, E.J. White.
That is the
E.J.
Temple.
White,
The
yeah.
Temple of Doom.
See, now they start coming in. Here
I
we
think was thought of as the weakest of the Raiders until number 4 was made.
go. Until-
Then number 4 took over. Temple of Doom became a much better movie.
And the funny thing,
once Crystal Skull was made.
Crystal Skull was so disappointing because I loved the Indiana Jones. Temple of Doom for me was really good. It's just I saw it at an age where it grossed me out so much.
Plus the young kid, I can't remember the young kid's name. The
was
young
from Goonies.
Indian kid. I mean he's a very memorable character from that
Yeah.
movie, and that whole Dr. Jones, Dr.
Yes,
Jones,
totally.
is a line that we remember. So there's definitely a lot of memorable
Oh,
moments
there's
from
so
Temple
many.
of Doom.
I still remember the guy holding the heart and it's beating and he's humble.
Yeah, that's right.
Scared the
Yeah.
crap.
And
out
isn't
of me.
that same character? He drives the car and he's got the wood blocks on the bottom of his foot so he can reach the pedals.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And then they have that great sequence where they're on the cart that goes through, which
Yeah.
is a lot of what the Raiders of the
Totally.
whenever there's a Raiders of the Lost Ark ride at a
Yeah.
amusement park, it's
Yeah.
like one of
the
those
rolling ball was from.
from the first one.
By the way, the cat is going nuts on
from
this
Lost
little
Ark.
standing
Yeah, so Temple of
stretch.
Doom, they're in the caverns and
Yeah, that's right.
and
all right. Anyway, so we got EJ. He says, "I'm from the South, so I could relate to the Temple of Doom." All right, so that's James. If you don't mind, just keep a track. But EJ's got one. All right, let's try to go down here. There was one.
Should we do
that
the
was,
other Raiders question? My
Okay,
question?
this is a little harder.
Yeah.
Let's. Okay, so
Okay.
this is not one that we're reading. So
Okay,
Cameron
so
asked
in
me-
the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, once they open up the pit where the Ark is, they find the actual location. The Nazis are digging in the wrong place.
Right.
They open up. John Rhys Davis character Salah looks down and he sees an animal down
these
there.
things down
What's
there.
the word that he calls the animal that are
the
slithering down?
reptiles down there.
And
He
they-
calls them something. What does he call them? This is a tough question. We'll see what they. Let's see who Googles. Quickly.
Yeah, that's right.
So what does
Or
Sala?
remembers. I mean, it's just such a
Basically,
memorable line.
what does Sala call a snake? Is pretty much
Yeah,
the
that's-
question. Yeah. I didn't know. Nope. So Solid does not call them snakes. So EJ says snakes.
But they are snakes. But he looks down and he says,
See,
very dangerous.
very dangerous.
You go first.
You go first. Yeah, it's a tough question. No.
Oh, he's got Casey. Casey's
Lane.
got
It's
it.
asps. Very good. Asps. Robin
And Robin says, Assos?
Serpientes.
You have to be careful how you say that word, Assos.
Yeah, right. So Casey got one. All right, we got EJ with one. And then
Does
Casey
Robin
with
get
two.
it? Did Robin really mean to make that O a P?
Probably, but Casey got it up here.
Casey's first.
Casey was first.
Well done, Casey.
Well done. Asps, if I wasn't getting autocorrect.
Oh, Mike Rogers got it.
Yeah, it's all right.
Asps.
So,
Very
all right,
dangerous.
So you guys got it. It's pretty good.
You go first.
All right, so EJ and Casey each have one. We're going to 7. That's the second. So we're on number 3. All right, what was that really interesting? Okay, so this is interesting. This is a line from which movie that won the Academy Award Best Picture. I'm not going to give the year yet, but this is a line from a very popular movie. It's technically at the end of the movie. After all, tomorrow is another day. One Best Picture. I could probably give you the year, but I think the year would give it away.
The year kind of gives it away.
There's an exclamation point after it. After all, tomorrow is another day. It is an older movie.
Who was our friend from the... EJ. EJ ought to get this.
The last line from which movie that won the Academy Award?
Which
for
Best Picture winning
Gone with the Wind.
film.
Suzanne Prescott. Nice
Well done,
work,
Suzanne.
After all, tomorrow. See, had I said Best Picture in 1939, I think everybody would have been like, oh.
1930, yeah, because you think like what movie could we possibly know the last line to?
Look at Dave
What's
with his abbreviations.
Casablanca has a famous last line, a final line.
Yeah, it
and they've
was,
won Best Picture, right?
This is
the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah. All right, so we've got Suzanne, Casey, and EJ. We're on question number 4. Everybody's getting, yeah, that was totally terrible. All right, let's try one that's a little harder. Let's see.
That would be a fun game to play. Well, not game or just conversation. It's just thinking about the best or most memorable final lines of
Yeah,
movies.
right. Yeah.
Tootsie is one for me.
God, so these are too easy. Hold on. I'll give you an example. This is not a question, but this is one of the questions I'm looking at. In which movie did Julia Roberts play a kind-hearted prostitute called Vivian Ward? Come on. If you don't know that's Pretty Woman, then you
Here,
don't
I
know.
got a Pretty Woman question.
Okay, Pretty Woman.
What does Richard Gere say was his first car
Tough.
in Pretty Woman?
Question.
In Pretty Woman. So Richard Gere's character in Pretty Woman.
What was
He's
this?
responding to Vivian, who
Yeah.
talks about her
He was-
first
I know he was
car being like a
driving-
Ford Mustang or something like that.
He was
And he
driving-
says, "My first car was a..."
Oh, I think I know. But he was driving a Lotus at the time in the movie.
Right.
But
But
think
when
I
they're
know.
talking about their first cars, Vivian tells him what her first car is. Dave's got it.
Dave, nice, a limousine, very
And that's a
good.
great. What I love about that line is it's such a great character revelation, right?
Right.
You have this rich guy
Totally.
who's sort of been silver spoon in his mouth his whole
Right.
life, right? To be
Yeah.
able to say, "My first car was a limousine,"
Yeah.
that tells you
Everything
that
you
this,
needed.
this is a character born with a silver spoon in his
Right.
mouth. You know?
Yeah. Let's see who else in the Ferrari question mark notes complete guess on my part.
Yeah.
I get it, Mike. All right, so what do we got? We got Dave, Casey, Suzanne, EJ. I'm missing somebody.
Dave, how many questions have we asked? We had
was
the
the
ask
5th question.
We had the Gone with the Wind question. We had the
who got the Gone with the Wind? Gone with
that
the
was
Wind
Suzanne.
Was Suzanne. Fill me in, guys. Give me up. I'm an idiot, and I've had a glass and a half of wine. We've got Suzanne, Dave.
Did EJ get the Temple of
Casey.
Doom? I think there was only 4.
Oh, I should have been making a note. Hold on. Let me just go back.
Right.
EJ did not get Temple of Doom. Casey got Temple of Doom. No, my bad. EJ got Temple of Doom. That was the first
Yeah, because he's
one
from
we
the
asked.
South.
EJ got Temple of Doom. And then Casey with Asps. Hold on. Suzanne with Gone with the Wind.
And Dave got Limousine.
Oh, Dave got Limousine.
Yeah, I think it's just 4.
All right, so we're on question number 5.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Do you remember what I just said? All right, let's see. Oh boy.
Casey,
These are
Dave,
lame.
EJ, Suzanne.
All right, we'll do a quick and easy one here. Which English actor won the 2014 Academy Award for Best Actor for his role in The Theory of Everything? English actor
I know.
won Best Actor for his role in The Theory of Everything. What is his name in real life? Not the character, but the actor. Oh no, come on. What is the actor's name? English.
Stephen Hawking just
Played Stephen Hawking. Eddie Redmayne. Suzanne's got 2.
Well done, Suzanne.
All right, so we've got EJ, Suzanne, Casey, Dave.
Eddie Redmayne.
All right, Suzanne up by 2. We're on
And
question.
was he nominated
number
also
6.
for the Danish Girl? He didn't.
Oh, he was. He was nominated. Yeah.
I mean, he's like the new Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm gonna play all the
He might as well. He's
characters
amazing
that
in
are-
everything.
yeah.
You know. Let's see. I think I've asked some of these in past.
I like it. Ask one of those easy ones, and then I'll think of a harder question from that same movie.
Well, yeah, really. All right, let's see what this is. This is interesting. Which angsty actress was the first American to win a Caesar, the French equivalent Oscar, in 2015? That's a tough one. I would not have gotten
Wow.
it. Angsty actress says a lot. Very angsty. A lot in the characters that she's playing.
Caesar. Would it have to
First
be a
American,
French-speaking question, French-speaking film? Or-
Probably. To win a Caesar, it's the French equivalent Oscar in 2015.
I have no idea.
Not Charlie Chaplin.
Well, because didn't you say angsty actor or actress? Oh, okay.
I could give a clue that will probably give it away, but I'm going to wait and see if anybody gets this. Kristen Stewart, Robin. Bam!
Well done, Robin.
Well done, unless you're really fast at the Googling, but I'm not going to say
Actually, yeah, that is something you could Google,
You
right?
could Google it, but whatever.
American actress Caesar.
I believe you. That's a tough one. All right, so we've got last question.
Jerry Lewis is a guess. Because Jerry Lewis was big in France, as we know.
Yeah, well, all right, so
The
Suzanne's got
Germans
2.
love David Hasselhoff.
Suzanne's got 2. If Robin, Casey, EJ, or Dave get the next one right, they tie
Then we have
Suzanne.
tie. Then we'll do a tiebreaker.
Otherwise, if anybody else gets it right, Suzanne wins. I think that's correct. Okay. Let's see what we got. Well, this is an interesting answer. I'm going to beg of you not to. I'm going to beg of you not to Google this. Okay. It's something you have to kind of guess. In what year? This is the last question. In what year was the original Jurassic Park film released? What year was Jurassic Park, the original Steven Spielberg, released? Let's see the guesses.
65 million years in the making.
Yeah, right. It wasn't 65 million years ago, but
I was much younger then.
we were all much younger. Not 2001, not 1990, not 2008. Now we're just going to 1993. Casey
Well done, Casey.
1993. So
Casey just tied it up.
tied Suzanne.
Is that the same Casey as before?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to need to get a tough question for just Casey and Suzanne. You guys are lucky. We're going a little long tonight. Let's see what we got here. All right, for just Casey and Suzanne.
I've got a really hard question.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be... Well, yeah, we don't want to be too difficult. It's just 2 left.
How about I'll throw this one out for fun? And if
Let's not go too long. Yeah. Well, you can ask me afterwards. Let's see. Oh, man. Oh, this is interesting. All right, let's that. It's kind of fun. Just because she's one of my personally scariest characters in all of movies. I got so scared of this character when I was little. All right, Suzanne and Casey, it's just for you. We got all the years coming in. Suzanne and Casey, this is just for you. What Alice in Wonderland character shouted, "Off with his head"? First to comment. This is just for Suzanne and Casey. Don't give it away. First, between Suzanne and Casey to comment, we'll see whose internet connection is faster. Off with his head. What character in Alice in Wonderland said that? I'm refreshing. Who's coming in with it first? We do have a little delay. Ooh, that is not technically the correct answer. Queen of Hearts. Casey got it. Oh, Suzanne,
They do refer
you
to her
were
as the Red
faster.
Queen.
It is the Queen of Hearts.
Yeah.
All right, Casey. I don't know what you win. I tell you what, this is what you'll win, Casey. We didn't even have a prize. We just did this for fun. If you have some log lines, Casey, maybe two or three log lines.
Look at Robin thought Suzanne won.
Yeah, now we're seeing test anxiety.
Maybe you can do it with Casey and I'll do it with Suzanne.
That's a good idea. All right, so Casey, this is what you're going to do. Well, Casey and Suzanne, you can both email me if you have 2 or 3 log lines of projects that you haven't developed yet, scripts that you haven't worked on. Email me max at thestoryfarm.org. I'll forward Suzanne's to Cameron, and I'll look at Casey's, and we'll just give you some thoughts and notes on those log lines. Cool? All right, what else we got? So everybody's coming in. None of them got it correctly. Queen of Hearts. Queen of Hearts was correct. It's Queen of Hearts.
Look at Suzanne.
Oh, Queen of Hearts.
Of course, Suzanne. I got
Spelling.
you. I got you.
Queen of Hearts misspelled.
Here's my really hard. This is because
All right.
football season.
Okay.
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 All right. In the movie Wildcats. Remember Wildcats? Goldie Hawn
Oh my God. Okay.
coaches a high school football team.
I think I watched it when I was 12.
It's a pretty good movie.
All right.
Two actors in that movie played quarterback for the team at some point, the Wildcats team that she coached. These are both very famous actors, one more famous than the other. Name either of the actors who at some point in the movie played quarterback for the Wildcats team.
They're very famous actors in Wildcats.
One of them is definitely super famous, is a big movie star. The other one is an actor that we would all know, but isn't as big a name. Of course, you can just Google that.
I was going
right?
to say Burt Reynolds too, Suzanne. I don't think that's correct.
No, we're talking Wildcats.
Yeah, Wildcats.
The movie Wildcats with Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn coaches
I don't know.
a high school football team.
I don't remember. I don't know who they are. George Clooney.
Wesley Snipes is in the movie. He plays a high school football player.
My God, he must have been a kid.
Yeah, well, this movie is from like 1988 or something.
Right.
So Wesley Snipes.
Woody Harrelson?
Yeah, there
Really?
you go. Woody
Dave
Harrelson.
got-
Well done, Dave.
Oh, misspelling.
Woody Harrelson starts at quarterback, and then Michael T. Williamson plays the guy who's like not really in high school, who's really good, that they recruit to get on the team, and then becomes a quarterback. And then Woody Harrelson's character moves to wide receiver.
Oh, my God. All right, everybody. So Suzanne and Casey, email max at thestoryfarm.org.com. Send us 2 or 3 log lines. We'll give you our thoughts and notes. I'll send Suzanne's over to Cameron. But all right, everybody, that's it. Thanks, Cameron, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
This was a lot of fun.
I love this.
I know. The problem is that our weeks are so busy that it's like if we did this every Wednesday, I think Felicity and I would just I think we'd pass out in the chairs. We do it almost every Wednesday anyway. Yeah. But we do it usually every other Wednesday or so.
I went through my whole glass of wine, too.
Wow, you're not even a big drinker. This is what we do. We turn people into alcoholics here. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody on the podcast. Thanks for watching, everybody on Facebook. If you came in late, you can always go to the ISA Facebook page. Maybe wait 15 minutes or so. It'll get loaded on the ISA Facebook page. For those of you listening and watching right now, you can go to the ISA Facebook page and watch a whole bunch of all of the episodes, actually. I think we might even be on the 50th episode, and I haven't, know, and I feel bad I haven't counted. Felicity and I keep commenting, oh my God, when's our 50th episode? And I have a feeling it might be tonight, or maybe next week.
But it's definitely the first episode with me as a
Of
co-host.
course, yeah. That's the only.
So we
that's
know
the
for
only-
sure
That's
it's
the only-
episode number 1.
Yeah, right.
This is just like me in Degrassi High. I just can't come in. We're a well-established
You come in
show,
after
and
it's-
then I'll just kind of slide in there.
Yeah. All right. Well, so next week I'm going to have Wendy Cram, who is also a script consultant, on. Where I think we're going to be a couple weeks off after that, and then Felicity will be back in October, and we'll start doing some Halloween movie stuff.
Ooh,
and,
that'll be fun.
yeah, of course, the holiday season starts. But all right, everybody, thank you for watching. As always, we'll be back next week, and we will see you then.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one.